Hi, my name's Michael White. I'm an instructor here at Metro Technology Centers, and today I want to go over with you some steps you can take to winterize a vehicle and make it ready for the winter months ahead. One of the first things you want to do is you want to check your wiper blades. Oftentimes this is the most neglected of all of the parts of our vehicle because these rubber blades weather quickly. The way to check those is to raise your blade and to check the refill, the rubber refill, by grabbing the edge of it lightly and pulling on it to see if there's any cracks or if it's weathered. Because if it has, it is a bad time to discover this whenever there's ice on your windshield or even an icy rain where whenever you're driving down the road, what happens is it begins to ice up your windshield and it doesn't clear it. So that is definitely one of the most important things because it adds to the safety of driving down the road on an icy day. Next, we're going to talk about air pressure. When checking your tire pressure, the most important thing is to make sure what your tire pressure is supposed to be, which is always printed on the side of the tire. When you find out what this pressure is supposed to be, and generally in today's tires, it ranges from about 35 to 45 pounds on a passenger car. It goes up from there for trucks and heavier equipment. What you would do is you would get what we call a tire gauge. This is a tool that whenever you put on the valve stem of the vehicle, this is the valve stem where the air is injected into the tire. You would place it over the top of the valve stem to get a proper reading of the air pressure that is in the tire. What you want to make sure of is that it's not too low and of course that it's not too high. Too low of an air pressure not only would cause your car to drive and perform at a much lower level, it would begin to sway across the road. But in the wintertime, whenever you have ice and rain, it's very dangerous for you and others. If the pressure's too high, you run the risk of having bulges in the side of your tire with the weather that we have. And if you hit a curb, you could very well create a blowout, which in that case could cause a serious wreck. The next thing we're going to talk about is some things under the hood. Number one is check for your fluid levels. The second is check your belts, your drive belts and your V belts. Your drive belts should not have any cracking or weathering. It's important to get those changed before the weather starts changing because the winter weather will actually cause them to crack more. For your fluid levels, there are many different fluid levels you should check underneath the hood. One of the most important fluid levels you should check is your oil. And it's really easy to check. First of all, you should, on the side of your block, your motor, is what we call a dipstick. If you pull out the dipstick, each dipstick is notched out on the side with proper levels, the maximum and the minimum. And you want your oil level to fall within the maximum and the minimum oil levels. If it is too low, then find your oil cap and then you would insert there with a funnel. One of the common mistakes that some people make is not using a funnel, which in turn allows the oil to pour over on the side of the motor. Then you have a smoke problem and a mess on your hands. Next, we'll check the antifreeze. Located near the front of your vehicle, close to the radiator, is where your antifreeze reservoir would be located. To check this, you would get an antifreeze tester that you can buy at any store, any of your local auto parts stores. They usually have floating balls on the side that you can locate on the side, and when you test, what you want to be able to do is notice how many of these balls are floating, and it has a measurement on the side. This particular gauge says if 4 of these colored balls are floating, then it tests good as low as 25 below zero. In today's weather, it is very crucial that you get your measurement correct. A good spot to start is a 50-50 mix of your antifreeze with water. And once you get that into your car, you can take a tester, which is very inexpensive, many times less than $1. You could get one of these testers and test and make sure that your antifreeze level is sufficient. Next, we would want to check our brake fluid levels. Over here we have our brake reservoir, and it's easy to check. Most of them are clear. They have the levels that are imprinted on the side of the reservoir. If not, you can actually take the cap off and see that your brake levels, your brake fluid levels, are up high enough so that if you are stuck out in the cold, you're not stuck trying to figure out how you're going to stop your car. Something that can help you whenever you reach the wintertime months is if you have the proper windshield washer fluid in your windshield washer reservoir. If you choose a windshield washer fluid that is also an anti-freeze windshield washer fluid, what this will do is you can actually use this in the wintertime to help melt the ice on your vehicle. A lot of people make the mistake of pouring warm water over a cold windshield. If you've made that mistake, you might have found that your windshield would shatter. To keep that from happening, you can go to any local auto parts store, pick up a jug of anti-freeze windshield washer fluid, put that in your reservoir, and it works wonders on an ice-covered windshield. One of the most important things to check is your battery. Before the winter months get here, you want to make sure that your battery has plenty of juice in it to get your car started in the winter months. You can take your vehicle to any of the local auto parts stores and they would gladly check your battery levels for free. One thing to keep in mind is that you need to make sure that the corrosion is non-existent on your battery terminals. It's very easy to clean the terminals. You could go to any of your local auto parts stores and buy a terminal cleaner. This comes in the form of a spray or even a wire brush that is form-fitted for your terminals. You can remove your terminals and then use the wire brush to remove the corrosion. And finally, you want to make sure to take items just in case your car does break down in the middle of the winter months. You want to make sure you take items such as an ice scraper or a snow brush. You want to make sure you have a jacket or a blanket. Things that will keep you warm just in case you're stranded out in the winter months.